Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful stories ever told. It's about a guy who had everything you could ever want and then just walked away from it all. I'm talking about the prince who became the Buddha, which means the awakened one.
And that right there, that's the big question, isn't it? He literally had everything. He was a prince, born into crazy wealth. A whole kingdom was going to be his. So why would he give it all up? To really get it, we need to step back and see the world the way he did, right from the start.
So picture this. Our story starts inside the walls of this ridiculously luxurious palace. I mean, this place was basically engineered to be perfect, in every way. And for this young prince, Siddhartha Gautama, that was his entire reality. It was this beautiful golden cage, built specifically to control his future.
And you know, this luxury, it wasn't just about being comfortable. It was a strategy. See, when Siddhartha was born, there was this prophecy that said he'd grow up to be one of two things, a mighty king or a world-changing spiritual teacher. Well, his dad, the king, was not having the second option. He wanted an heir. So he built this perfect world, a bubble, completely free of any kind of suffering. He made sure his son never saw sickness, never saw old age, and definitely never saw death. The hope was to tie him to this world, to the throne.
But come on, you can't keep a curious mind locked up forever, right? Siddhartha felt this pull, this deep need to see what was actually outside the palace gates. And the day he finally ventured out, well, that was the day his perfect little world came crashing down.
So the first thing he sees? An old man, stooped over, frail. I mean, you have to imagine the shock. In his world, everybody was young, everybody was strong. He turns to his chariot driver and asks, is that going to happen to me too? And the answer he gets? Yes. That was the first major crack in that perfect reality he knew. Then, a little further down the road, he sees someone who's really, really sick, just ravaged by disease. And he's witnessing a kind of pain, a fragility he literally didn't know existed. That illusion of a perfect, safe world, it was just falling apart right in front of him.
And then came the final blow. He saw a dead body being carried off for cremation. Death. It hit him like a ton of bricks. This is what happens to everyone. It would happen to him, to his family, to everyone he loved. All his power, his palace, none of it mattered. None of it could stop this simple, unavoidable truth. Everything ends.
But then, in the middle of all this new despair, he saw one last thing. It was a wandering holy man, an ascetic. This man had basically nothing, and yet, he just radiated this incredible sense of peace. And that image, it planted this tiny, powerful seed in Siddhartha's mind. A question. If suffering is a part of life for everyone, maybe, just maybe, finding peace within it is still possible.
So those four sights completely haunted him. He just couldn't go back to his old life. He couldn't unsee what he'd seen. So at 29 years old, he makes this mind-blowing decision. He quietly slips out of the palace in the middle of the night, leaving behind his wife, his brand new baby son, his entire kingdom, and he trades it all for a simple robe and a single burning question. How do you find an end to suffering?
His search kicks off by finding the most famous spiritual teachers around. He joins his group of ascetics, and their whole philosophy was basically, well, if worldly pleasure is the problem, maybe extreme pain is the solution. And for 6 years, 6 long years, he went all in. He pushed his body right to the edge of starvation, practicing extreme self-denial, thinking he could burn away his impurities. But it didn't work. All that starving and self-punishment just made his mind foggy and weak. And that's when he had this huge realization. Torturing his body wasn't the path. It was just another extreme, like his old life of luxury. Neither indulgence nor denial was the answer. They were two sides of the same coin, and neither one led to real clarity. This was the big turning point.
So, he completely abandoned both extremes. He decided to forge a new path, something he called the middle way. He accepted a simple bowl of rice pudding from a local girl, got his strength back, and then he walked over to a big fig tree, what would later be known as the Bodhi Tree, and he sat down. And he made a promise to himself. I am not getting up from this spot until I find the answer, whatever it takes.
And for 49 days, that's what he did. He sat in the state of deep, unbroken meditation. But he wasn't, praying to some god for an answer. He was looking inward. He was observing his own mind, just watching his thoughts, his feelings, his fears, watching them come and go, investigating the very nature of existence with this incredible laser-like focus.
And then, on the morning of the 49th day, it happened. He saw it. He understood everything with this perfect, brilliant clarity. What suffering is, where it comes from, and crucially, how to end it. He woke up. And in that one moment, Siddhartha the prince was gone forever. He became the Buddha, the awakened one.
He'd done it. He had found that ultimate freedom he'd been searching for ever since he left the palace. But here's the amazing part. He could have just stayed in that state of bliss, kept it for himself. But he didn't. He made this incredible, compassionate choice to get up, walk back into the world, and spend the rest of his life teaching others what he'd found.
His very first teaching laid everything out so clearly, almost like a doctor giving a diagnosis. First, he says, here's the symptom. Life has this baseline level of suffering, or dukkha, as he called it. It's not just like physical pain. It's a deeper feeling of dissatisfaction. Okay, second, the cause. This feeling comes from our craving, our clinging, our attachments. Third, the prognosis. The good news is it doesn't have to be this way. It can end. There's a cure. And fourth, the prescription,
which is a clear, step-by-step path to that cure. And that's the prescription, the Eightfold Path. Now, this isn't a list of thou shalt nots from a god. It's way more practical. Think of it like a training manual for your own mind. It's a guide to developing wisdom, living ethically, and training your focus through things like right understanding, right speech, and right mindfulness.
And for the next 45 years, that's what the Buddha did. He just walked all over northeastern India, teaching this path to literally anyone who would listen. Didn't matter if you were a king or a street sweeper. And to make sure his teachings didn't just disappear when he was gone, he created the Sangha, a community of monks and nuns who could practice together and carry the wisdom forward for generations to come.
And you know what? They did. After he passed away at around 80 years old, his ideas exploded. They spread from India all across Asia and eventually the whole world. I mean, today his core insights are at the heart of the modern mindfulness movement. They've had a huge impact on psychology. And sure, his birthplace in Lumbini is a World Heritage Site, but his real living legacy, it's in the minds of hundreds of millions of people.
So that brings us all the way back to that first question. Why give it all away? And the answer is, the Buddha didn't leave because he thought his old life was worthless. He left because he found something so much more valuable. He found a real path to freedom. And his story kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? He had to literally walk out of a physical palace to find his truth. So it makes you wonder, what comfortable ideas, what palace walls in our own heads might be holding us back from seeing a deeper truth about our own lives?